The moment the twins execute his signature chess move perfectly in unison, his face drains of color as the realization hits him like a thunderbolt. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. The vacuum's steady hum masked Amara's quiet humming as she navigated between sleek glass desks in the executive suite. 10 years of cleaning these offices, and she'd never once been noticed. That was the point. The invisible workforce that appeared after dark and disappeared before dawn, leaving only the shine of polished surfaces as evidence they'd ever been there. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Only her children called this late. "Hey, baby, everything okay?" She wedged the phone between her ear and shoulder, continuing to empty trash bins. "Mom, I can't solve this endgame. It's the Lucina position, but with a twist." Zach's voice carried the particular frustration of a puzzle unsolved. "Shouldn't you be in bed? It's nearly 11. "I know, but I can't sleep until I figure it out. My brain won't shut up." Amara smiled despite herself. "Sounds familiar. Your brain and my brain are the same that way." "Please, Mom? 5 minutes? Zoe's already asleep." She sighed, setting down her cleaning supplies. "Okay, describe the board." As Zach detailed the position, Amara closed her eyes, visualizing the pieces. Chess had been her escape long before it became her children's passion. A world where background and bank accounts didn't matter, only the mind's capacity for strategy. "You're overthinking it, Zach. What's the first rule I taught you?" "Control the center," he recited. "And the second? A knight on the rim is, oh, I see it now. If I move the knight to e5 instead of the edge, I create a bridge." "Exactly. Now go to sleep before I ground you from chess club." "Love you, Mom. Love you more, baby." Amara slipped the phone back into her pocket, aware of the irony. Mopping floors at night so her children could soar during the day. Her Zach with his mind like a maze of brilliant connections. Her Zoe, fierce as a queen protecting her king, both with their father's strategic brilliance and none of his privilege. Their father. The thought of Marcus still twisted something in her chest after all these years. 22 floors above in his penthouse apartment, Marcus Reynolds loosened his tie and poured himself 2 fingers of scotch, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, Mother. I understand the Pierponts are disappointed." His voice remained measured despite the tension in his shoulders. "The acquisition makes strategic sense regardless of their feelings." "The Pierponts have been our allies for 3 generations, Marcus." Eleanor Reynolds' voice was like silk over steel. "Social capital matters as much as financial capital. Your father and I didn't build this legacy by alienating the right people." Marcus pinched the bridge of his nose. "Their daughter's disappointment that I didn't propose is hardly my responsibility. Vanessa is perfectly suitable, well-connected, proper education. I'm not discussing my personal life right now." He cut her off, a rare assertion that brought momentary silence from the formidable Eleanor Reynolds. "You're 38, Marcus. It's time to think about legacy." The word hit like a physical blow. Legacy. As if the Reynolds name and empire weren't enough. As if something essential was still missing. "I have a board meeting at 7 tomorrow. We'll continue this at Sunday dinner." "We hardly see you anymore." Her voice softened slightly. "You work too much." "The irony of you saying that," Marcus replied with a dry laugh. "Good night, Mother." He ended the call and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Manhattan glittered below like a chessboard of light and shadow. His kingdom. His prison. Marcus sipped his scotch, reflecting on the afternoon's strategy session. Reynolds' tech was expanding aggressively, his vision finally taking shape after years of meticulous positioning. Yet success felt hollow. He'd sacrificed his queen a decade ago for this endgame, and now couldn't remember why it had seemed worth it. His mind drifted, as it often did in quiet moments, to Amara. Where was she now? Had she found happiness? Had she forgiven him? The thought vanished as his phone lit up with notifications. another crisis to manage, another distraction from the emptiness. Amara finished the executive bathroom, restocking hand towels with practiced efficiency. The Reynolds Tower emptied early on Fridays, even the workaholics heading out for weekend plans. All except the CEO himself, whose office light still blazed at midnight. Her cart squeaked slightly as she pushed it toward the final office, the largest corner suite with Marcus Reynolds etched on a discreet plaque. Her pulse quickened as it always did. 10 years of cleaning his space, absorbing the evidence of his life from a distance. Awards he'd won, books he kept on his shelf, the single chess piece, a black queen, that never moved from the corner of his desk. She'd become expert at remaining unseen, scheduling her cleaning when his calendar showed meetings or travel. Tonight was supposed to be safe. His town car had been scheduled for 9 p.m. according to the log at security. Amara unlocked the office with her master key and slipped inside. The space was immaculate as always, minimal and precisely arranged. She moved efficiently, emptying the small trash can, wiping surfaces with practiced movements. His desk held little personal touch except for that chess piece and a framed photo facing away from her. Curiosity, her persistent weakness, made her pause. In 10 years, she'd never looked at the photo. Who did the great Marcus Reynolds keep close? His elegant mother? Some suitable socialite girlfriend? Amara reached for the frame, then froze at voices approaching in the hallway. His voice. Impossible. He should be gone. Need those projections tonight, not tomorrow morning. Her heart hammered as she frantically gathered her supplies. The door handle turned. Nowhere to go. She ducked behind the massive desk just as the door opened. I don't care if it's midnight, James. The Shanghai call is at 6, and I need those numbers. Marcus strode in, phone to ear, so close she could see the polished leather of his shoes. Amara held her breath, crouched in the shadow of his desk, praying he wouldn't sit down. Fine, email them when they're ready. He ended the call with a frustrated sigh. From her hiding place, Amara could see him move to the window, his reflection ghostly in the dark glass. He looked exactly the same yet completely different. Broader shoulders, threads of silver at his temples, the weight of authority in his stance. His gaze drifted to his desk, and for a terrifying moment, Amara thought he'd seen her. Instead, he reached for the chess piece, the Black Queen, rolling it between his fingers with practiced familiarity. The gesture was so achingly familiar that Amara's breath caught. How many times had she watched those same fingers move chess pieces, explaining strategies, creating the special move he'd designed just for her? Marcus set down the queen and rubbed his eyes. Get it together, he muttered to himself, and Amara was shocked at the weariness in his voice. This wasn't the confident, privileged man she'd constructed in her mind over years of resentment. For just a moment she glimpsed the young man she'd loved, uncertain despite his privilege, brilliant yet vulnerable. He checked his watch and grabbed his suit jacket from the back of his chair. Drink with James. Right. Wonderful. The moment he stepped out, Amara exhaled shakily. Her hand trembled as she reached for her cart, knocking over a bottle of cleaning solution. It clattered loudly in the silent office. The footsteps in the hallway paused, then returned. Amara froze, heart pounding. 10 years of careful avoidance about to end because of a plastic bottle. Hello? Is someone there? Marcus called, stepping back into his office. Amara stood slowly, emerging from behind his desk like a ghost from the past. Their eyes met across the room. 10 years of carefully constructed distance collapsed in an instant. Amara? His voice was barely a whisper, disbelief etched across his features. She straightened her maintenance uniform, summoning all her dignity. Good evening, Mr. Reynolds. I was just finishing up. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. For once, the brilliant CEO was speechless. Excuse me, she said, gripping her cart handle like a lifeline. I'll come back later. Wait. He stepped forward, but she was already moving past him toward the door, gaze fixed firmly ahead. Amara, please. She paused at the threshold, not turning back. "It's been a long time, Marcus. Let's keep it that way." The door closed between them with a soft, definitive click. In the empty hallway, Amara leaned against the wall, heart hammering. After a decade of careful avoidance, the game had begun again, pieces returning to the board. And somewhere across town, her children slept, unaware that their entire world was about to change. Marcus arrived at Windsor Academy precisely at 4 o'clock, his driver pulling smoothly to the curb before the imposing brick building. 3 days had passed since the encounter with Amara, 3 sleepless nights replaying those few seconds of eye contact, the shock of seeing her in a maintenance uniform, cleaning his office like a ghost that had stepped from his memories. He'd searched for her the next day, only to learn from HR that she worked through a contracted cleaning service. They had strict instructions never to share employee information. He'd nearly pulled rank and demanded it, then stopped himself. What right did he have to disrupt her life after all this time? "Mr. Reynolds, what a pleasure." Headmaster Michaels bustled down the stairs to greet him, hand extended. "The children are so excited about your visit." Marcus forced his thoughts back to the present. "The pleasure's mine. How's our program developing?" "Wonderfully. Enrollment's up 30% since your endowment. Right this way." The chess initiative had been Marcus's pet project for 3 years, elite training for promising students regardless of background. A program that might have changed his own life had it existed when he was struggling to balance his passion for chess with his father's expectations of business school. The classroom was arranged with a dozen chess tables, each occupied by students in Windsor's navy blazers. Their faces brightened as he entered, recognizing the benefactor whose name adorned their chess sets. "Afternoon, everyone," Marcus said, his public persona sliding into place. "Who's brave enough to challenge me today?" A forest of hands shot up. Marcus smiled, selecting a serious-looking girl with tightly braided hair. As they played, he offered suggestions, noting her solid foundational knowledge. "You've made excellent progress," he told the class afterward. "Keep developing your middle game, and you'll be ready for the state championships." "If I may," Headmaster Michaels interjected, "our students face strong competition from a community program in the Bronx. They've produced some remarkable young players." "Oh?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Twin prodigies, actually. African-American children, about 10 years old. The boy especially has extraordinary pattern recognition. They train at the East Bronx Community Center. Coach Rodriguez calls the boy a once-in-a-generation talent." Something tugged at Marcus's attention. "Twins, you say?" "Yes, they consistently dominate our students at tournaments. I mentioned your program might be a better fit for their abilities, but apparently they're quite loyal to their community center." Marcus checked his watch. "This community center, is it far?" The East Bronx Community Center stood in stark contrast to Windsor's manicured grounds, a weathered brick building with chain-link fencing around a cracked basketball court. Inside, the fluorescent lighting flickered sporadically over mismatched furniture and walls covered with children's artwork. Marcus felt conspicuous in his tailored suit as he followed the sound of snapping chess pieces and children's voices to a back room. He paused in the doorway, surveying the scene. About 15 children hunched over battered chess sets, their concentration palpable. His gaze was immediately drawn to one table where a girl with thick braids was locked in intense competition with a boy wearing round glasses. They played with lightning speed, their moves confident and precise. "Checkmate," the boy announced, adjusting his glasses with a small smile. The girl scowled. "You always use that knight sacrifice. I should have seen it coming." "Because it works, Zoe." The boy began resetting the pieces. "You always protect your queen too much. Sometimes you have to risk her to win. That's easy for you to say. You never get attached to your pieces." Something about their dynamic, their features, made Marcus's heart beat faster. They were striking children, the girl fierce and protective, the boy thoughtful and strategic. both with warm brown skin and intelligent eyes that seemed to absorb everything around them. An older man approached the twins. "Zach, Zoe, let's work on that Sicilian defense we discussed." Marcus stepped forward. "Excuse me, I hope I'm not interrupting." All three turned, the coach's eyebrows rising at the unexpected visitor in expensive clothing. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Marcus Reynolds." He extended his hand. "I sponsor the chess program at Windsor Academy." Recognition dawned on the coach's face. "Coach Rodriguez, we've competed against your students. They're well trained." "Not well enough, apparently." Marcus smiled, nodding toward the twins. "I understand these two are quite exceptional." The children exchanged glances, the girl, Zoe, narrowing her eyes suspiciously while the boy straightened with barely contained excitement. "You're from the fancy school?" Zach asked, eyes widening behind his glasses. "I support their program, yes." Marcus knelt to their level, an instinctive gesture that surprised even himself. "I heard you're extraordinary players. Would you mind if I watched you play?" Zoe crossed her arms. "Why?" "Zoe," Coach Rodriguez admonished gently. "It's a fair question," Marcus said. "I'm always looking for exceptional talent to support. Chess opened doors for me, and I'd like to do the same for others." "You play?" Zach asked eagerly. "Since I was about your age, though I suspect you might already be better than I was then." "I doubt it," Zoe said, but curiosity softened her suspicion. "You any good now?" Marcus smiled. "Only one way to find out." 10 minutes later, he found himself thoroughly challenged by Zach's unconventional approach. The boy played with intuitive brilliance, seeing patterns that emerged 5-6 moves ahead. His sister watched intently, occasionally whispering suggestions that revealed her own tactical mind. As they played, Marcus studied their features, something hauntingly familiar in the boy's furrowed concentration, the girl's sharp, assessing gaze. Both had the same deep brown eyes, high cheekbones, and determined set to their jaws. "Checkmate in 3, Zach announced. Marcus examined the board and laughed softly. "I believe you're right. Well played." "You let him win," Zoe accused. "I assure you I didn't." Marcus reset the pieces. "You both have extraordinary talent. Have you considered more advanced training?" Coach Rodriguez stepped closer. "These kids have raw talent but limited resources. The community center does what it can. I'd like to invite them to join a special training session at Windsor." Marcus directed this to the coach but watched the twins' reactions. No obligation, just an opportunity to play with different opponents, access better resources. Zach's eyes lit up. "Like the electronic boards that record your moves?" "Exactly. We also have Grandmaster sessions monthly." "We can't afford," Coach Rodriguez began. "It would be fully sponsored," Marcus interrupted. "I've earmarked funds specifically for exceptional talents outside our regular program." Zoe's eyes narrowed again. "Why would you do that for us?" The directness of her question, so reminiscent of someone else, caught Marcus off guard. Because talent shouldn't be limited by circumstance. Something in his tone must have convinced her, because she gave a slight nod. "We'd need their mother's permission, of course," Coach Rodriguez said. "Of course." Marcus handed him a business card. "Please have her call me directly with any questions." As he prepared to leave, Zach asked suddenly, "Why's there a queen on your card?" Marcus looked down at his business card with its subtle embossed black queen logo. "The queen is the most powerful piece on the board. She can move in any direction, any distance." He smiled slightly. "I've always believed in following her example." "Mom, you won't believe who we met today." Zach burst through the apartment door, Zoe close behind. Amara looked up from the stack of bills at the kitchen table, her tired expression softening at their excitement. "Let me guess. The president? Beyoncé?" "A real chess master," Zach said, dropping his backpack. "He wears fancy suits and has his own school and everything. He invited us to special training." His name's Marcus Reynolds, Zoe added, watching her mother closely. He has a queen on his business card. The color drained from Amara's face. The envelope she'd been holding fluttered to the floor as her fingers went numb. "Mom?" Zoe stepped closer, suddenly concerned. "Are you okay?" Amara's world tilted sideways, past and present colliding with dizzying force. "This man," she managed to ask, her voice unnaturally calm. "Did he say why he was interested in you two?" "He said we have talent," Zach replied, confusion crossing his face. "Mom, what's wrong?" Amara stared at her children, at his children, and felt the careful walls she'd built over 10 years begin to crumble. "Nothing's wrong," she lied, forcing a smile. "Tell me everything." Windsor Academy's chess room looked magical to Zach. Electronic boards that recorded every move. Chess clocks worth more than all the sets at the community center combined. Reference books lining mahogany shelves. He adjusted his glasses, taking it all in while trying not to appear too impressed. "This place is ridiculous," Zoe muttered beside him, though he caught the gleam of appreciation in her eyes as she examined a hand-carved marble set. Their mother had been strangely quiet when they'd asked permission to attend. She'd stared at Coach Rodriguez's note for a long time before signing it with a shaking hand. This morning she'd hugged them longer than usual, telling them to just be themselves. Something about the way she said it made Zach wonder what she wasn't telling them. "Welcome to Windsor." Marcus Reynolds appeared in the doorway, different somehow from the man they'd met at the community center. More formal in his dark suit, yet his smile seemed warmer when he spotted them. "I'm glad you could make it." Several Windsor students were already setting up boards, casting curious glances at the newcomers. Zach sensed Zoe tensing beside him, her defenses rising. "We're here to play chess," she said, chin lifting slightly, "not to be part of some charity project." "Zoe," Zach hissed, embarrassed, but Marcus didn't seem offended. "Fair enough. Chess is the great equalizer. The pieces don't care who's moving them." He gestured toward the electronic boards. "Shall we see what you can do?" The next hour passed in a blur of matches. Zach defeated 3 Windsor students handily, while Zoe battled their best player to a draw. Mr. Michaels circulated, making notes and occasionally offering praise. The twins' confidence grew with each victory. "Impressive," Marcus said, approaching as Zach reset his board. "You see patterns most adults miss." Zach shrugged, pleased but trying to appear nonchalant. "Mom says chess is just a conversation without words. You have to listen to what your opponent is really saying." Something flickered across Marcus's face. "Your mother plays?" "She taught us," Zoe interjected, appearing suddenly at her brother's side. "She's better than both of us." "Is that so?" Marcus's voice was carefully neutral. "I'd love to meet her sometime." "She works a lot," Zach said. 3 jobs. 3? Marcus's eyebrows rose. "Cleaning offices at night, bookkeeping for a mechanic on weekends, and tutoring sometimes," Zoe supplied, her tone challenging as if daring him to comment. "That's impressive dedication," Marcus said quietly. "I'd like to play with you next, Zach, if you're up for a rematch from the community center." Zach grinned. "I'll try to go easy on you." They settled across from each other, the electronic board glowing softly between them. Mr. Michaels and several students gathered to watch. "Black or white?" Marcus asked. "Black," Zach said instantly. "Mom always says the second player has to be more creative." Again, that flicker across Marcus's face. "Your mother sounds wise." As they played, Zach felt himself being tested. Unlike their first match, Marcus wasn't holding back. His strategy was elegant and ruthless, forcing Zach to defend constantly. "You're pretty good," Zach admitted, pushing up his glasses as he studied the board. Marcus had him cornered, his queen threatened and king vulnerable. "You sound surprised," Marcus smiled. "Most adults think they're better than they are." Zach moved his knight, setting a trap 3 moves ahead. Marcus countered, blocking the trap while advancing his own position. And what does your mother think of adults? That they're just kids with more practice at hiding their mistakes, Zach quoted, his focus on the board. Marcus's laugh sounded strangely sad. She's not wrong. Zach found himself in an increasingly desperate position. His standard tactics weren't working. Marcus played like he could see inside Zach's mind, anticipating each strategy. "Remember what Mom taught us about impossible positions," Zoe whispered, leaning over his shoulder. Zach nodded, studying the board more carefully. There was one move, unorthodox, almost nonsensical at first glance, that his mother had taught them for desperate situations. A queen sacrifice that created cascading chaos across the board. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, executing the unusual sequence. Marcus's hand froze mid-air, his expression shifting from concentration to shock. He stared at the board, then at Zach, then back at the board. "Where did you learn that move?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Zach blinked, confused by the reaction. "My mom taught me. It's kind of our secret weapon." Marcus's hand trembled slightly as he set down his piece. The room had gone quiet, students sensing something significant had occurred. "It's a very unusual strategy," Marcus said, his composure visibly returning with effort. "I've only seen it once before." "Did someone use it against you?" Zach asked, curious. "No." Marcus's eyes had a faraway look. "I created it." 10 years earlier? That's cheating, Amara laughed, sprawled on Marcus's dorm room floor beside the chessboard. "You can't just invent moves." "It's not cheating, it's innovation," he insisted, demonstrating the sequence again. "Look, sacrifice the queen here. Knight moves to create this pin, then these 3 moves force a cascading collapse of their defense." "It's completely counterintuitive," she said, studying the board. "No one would see it coming." "Exactly." Marcus smiled, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "That's why it's our move. The Reynolds-Johnson Gambit." "Sounds better as the Johnson-Reynolds Gambit," she teased. "I'll concede alphabetical order," he said, leaning over to kiss her, "if you'll concede the match." "Never," she whispered against his lips. "I don't concede anything worth fighting for." "Mr. Reynolds, are you okay?" Zach's voice pulled Marcus back to the present. "Yes, sorry." Marcus studied the boy's face with new intensity. The high forehead, the shape of his eyes, the way his fingers arranged the captured pieces in perfect rows. "How old are you, Zach?" he asked suddenly. 10. Me and Zoe both, obviously. We're twins." "Identical?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Zach laughed. "No, we're fraternal, and she hates when people ask that." "I do," Zoe confirmed, appearing at her brother's side with narrowed eyes. Her protective stance was unmistakable. "Why do you care how old we are?" "Just curious about your chess development," Marcus said smoothly, though his heart raced. "Most prodigies start showing talent around 4 or 5. "Mom gave us our first chess set when we were 3, Zach said proudly. "She said I arranged the pieces correctly the first time she showed me." "Your mother," Marcus said carefully. "What's her name?" "Amara," Zach replied, oblivious to the significance. "Amara Johnson." Marcus felt the world tilt beneath him. 10 years, twins, the secret chess move he'd created and taught to only one person, Amara cleaning his office building at night. "Why are you asking about our mom?" Zoe demanded, her young face suddenly fierce. Marcus struggled to maintain his composure. "I like to know about the families of promising students. Speaking of which, where's your father? Does he play chess too?" A sudden silence fell between the twins. Zach looked down at the board while Zoe's expression hardened. "We don't have one," she said flatly. "Everyone has a father, biologically speaking," Marcus said gently. "Not us," Zoe insisted. "Just Mom. That's all we need." Marcus nodded, respecting her defensive stance while his mind raced with implications. "Of course, your mother sounds remarkable." As the session concluded, Marcus watched the twins gather their belongings. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to a photo he hadn't looked at in years. Amara laughing in Central Park, sunlight catching her face. He glanced from the image to the twins, noting the echoes of her features in both. Zoe's determined jawline, Zach's thoughtful eyes, and his own contributions, the shape of their foreheads, the way Zach's fingers moved with precise economy, the analytical tilt of their heads when concentrating. His children. It couldn't be coincidence. As they left, Marcus made a decision. After 10 years of careful strategy, it was time for a bold move. The service elevator in Reynolds Tower groaned to a halt at 2:13 a.m. Amara stepped out, rolling her cleaning cart ahead of her, shoulders tight with tension. She'd switched shifts with another cleaner, hoping to avoid the executive floor altogether. 3 nights of schedule juggling, all to avoid a conversation she'd been dreading for 10 years. She'd nearly called in sick when the twins came home raving about their session at Windsor Academy. Zach's excited description of playing against Marcus. Zoe's unusually quiet observations afterward. They'd noticed the resemblance. They were too smart not to. Questions would come soon. Amara pushed her cart down the quiet hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead. She'd finish the lower floors and be gone before sunrise. Tomorrow she'd call Coach Rodriguez, make up some excuse why the twins couldn't continue at Windsor. "Hello, Amara." She froze. Marcus stood by the water cooler, suit jacket discarded, tie loosened, looking like he'd been waiting for hours. He probably had. "Mr. Reynolds." She straightened, professional mask sliding into place. "I'm assigned to different floors tonight." "I know. I checked the schedule." He stepped closer. "You've been avoiding me." "I'm just doing my job." She gripped the cart handle tighter. "If you'll excuse me, they're mine, aren't they?" His voice was soft but carried the weight of certainty. "Zach and Zoe. They're my children." The corridor seemed to shrink around her. Amara had rehearsed this moment countless times, yet now found herself speechless. Denial would be futile. The secret chess move had betrayed her. Yes. The word hung between them, irrevocable. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, his composure wavering. When he looked at her again, raw emotion had replaced his usual controlled expression. 10 years, Amara. 10 years I didn't know I had children. You made your choice. Her voice remained steady despite the storm inside her. Your family, your position, your legacy. I didn't know you were pregnant. Would it have changed anything? She challenged. Would you have defied your parents, risked your inheritance, chosen us? His silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. Amara moved to push past him. Marcus caught her arm, gentle but insistent. You had no right to keep this from me. They're my children too. They became solely mine the moment you walked away. She pulled free of his grasp. I was 22, Marcus, pregnant with twins. You chose your world over ours. So this was punishment? His voice rose slightly. Keeping my own children from me for a decade? Protection, she corrected sharply. I was protecting them from feeling exactly what I felt when the great Marcus Reynolds decided his family's approval was worth more than our love. Marcus ran a hand over his face. My God, Amara, do you know what I've missed? First steps, first words, first nights without sleep, first fevers, first heartbreaks. Her calm facade cracked slightly. You missed the hard parts too, Marcus. The parts that forge you as a parent. They stood in tense silence, 10 years of unspoken words filling the space between them. How did you do it? He finally asked, softer now. Raise twins on your own while working like this? One day at a time. Amara's expression softened slightly at the thought of her children. They made it worthwhile. They're extraordinary. Pride crept into his voice. Zach has my analytical mind, but Zoe... He shook his head with a slight smile. She's you all over again, fierce, protective. They're the best of both of us, Amara admitted, without the worst. Why cleaning? He asked suddenly. You were brilliant. Full scholarship to Columbia? You could have… Been what, Marcus? A single mother interviewing for corporate jobs with newborn twins, begging for flexible hours and affordable child care? Bitterness edged her voice. Cleaning paid the bills. Night shifts meant I could be with my children during the day. Shame crossed his features. I could have helped. Should have helped. Yes, you should have. The simple agreement landed harder than any accusation. Marcus leaned against the wall, suddenly looking exhausted. What do we do now? Nothing changes, Amara said firmly. They're my children. They're our children, and everything has already changed. His gaze hardened with determination. I missed 10 years. I won't miss another day. You can't just walk into their lives and claim fatherhood because it suits you now, Amara snapped. Parenthood isn't a corporate acquisition. I know that. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. But I also know they deserve more than I can provide with occasional chess lessons, college funds, opportunities, relationships with their father. They've had everything they need, but not everything they deserve. His expression softened. Neither have you, Amara. The unexpected gentleness in his voice threatened to unravel her. Amara stepped back, rebuilding her walls. Don't act like you care about what I deserve after 10 years. I never stopped caring. His admission hung between them. I made a choice I've regretted every day since. Regret doesn't raise children, Marcus. No, but I can help raise them now. He ran a hand through his hair, a familiar gesture from years ago. We need to tell them. Together. They're not ready. Are you sure it's them who aren't ready? He challenged softly. Before she could answer, the elevator dinged. They both turned as the doors opened, revealing Zoe and Zach. Mom? Zach's voice echoed in the silent hallway, confusion written across his face. What are you doing here? Zoe demanded, her suspicious gaze darting between her mother and Marcus. Amara's heart stopped. What are you two doing here? It's the middle of the night. We couldn't sleep. Zach adjusted his glasses nervously. We know you work here and thought we'd surprise you. The security guard knows us from when we sometimes bring you dinner. He shouldn't have let you up, Amara said, moving toward them protectively. Why are you talking to him? Zoe pointed at Marcus, her expression accusing. And why does he look like he's seen a ghost? Marcus stood frozen, staring at the children, his children, appearing unexpectedly like manifestations of his thoughts. We were just… Mr. Reynolds had some questions about the cleaning service, Amara improvised, her voice steadier than she felt. At 2 a.m? Zoe's eyes narrowed with the perceptiveness that always unnerved Amara. It's complicated, sweetheart, Amara said, placing a hand on Zoe's shoulder. Why are you both acting weird? Zach looked between them, his analytical mind clearly processing the tension in the air. Do you know each other? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Yes, Marcus finally said, his gaze meeting Amara's. We know each other from a long time ago. How? Zoe demanded. Amara closed her eyes briefly, feeling the careful construction of her life beginning to crumble. This isn't the place for this conversation. Mom? Zach's voice had gone quiet. What's going on? Marcus stepped forward, his expression gentle as he addressed the twins. Your mother's right. This isn't the right place or time, but I think we all need to talk soon. About what? Zoe challenged, instinctively moving closer to her mother. About chess, Marcus said simply, and other things. Amara looked at her children's confused faces, then at Marcus. The silent question in his eyes was clear. Now or later. Kids, let's go home, she said finally. We'll talk there. As they rode down in the elevator, an awkward silence enveloped them. Zach kept stealing glances at Marcus, while Zoe maintained a protective position beside her mother. Can I… Marcus hesitated. Would it be all right if I came by tomorrow? To talk properly? Amara met his gaze over the twins' heads. A decade of separation, of choices and consequences, hung in the balance of her answer. 6 o'clock, she said finally. We have a lot to discuss. As the elevator doors opened to the lobby, Marcus remained inside. Good night, Amara. Good night, Zach and Zoe. Good night, Mr. Reynolds, Zach replied politely, while Zoe merely nodded. Amara led her children toward the exit, feeling Marcus's gaze on their backs. In the cool night air, Zach finally broke the silence. Mom, how does Mr. Reynolds really know you? Walking between her children, Amara took a deep breath. After 10 years of careful protection, the game had changed. The king was in check, and there was nowhere left to hide. Let's go home, she said quietly. There's something I need to tell you both. The walk-up apartment in the Bronx was a world away from Marcus's penthouse. 3 flights of creaking stairs led to a door with 3 locks and a peephole that had seen better days. Marcus stood outside, a bag of pastries in one hand, heart hammering in his chest. Inside, Amara surveyed the living room with critical eyes. Everything was clean but worn. The second-hand sofa with its carefully positioned throw blanket hiding a worn spot, bookshelves made from cinder blocks and wooden planks, walls covered with the twins' academic certificates and chess tournament ribbons. Not shameful by any means, but starkly humble compared to the world their father inhabited. Mom, you've straightened that picture frame like 50 times, Zoe observed from the kitchen table where she was pretending to do homework. It's just Mr. Reynolds. It wasn't just anything, and Amara knew her perceptive daughter sensed it. After returning from the tower last night, she'd told them only that Marcus was someone important from her past and they would discuss everything today. Neither child had slept much, Zach peppering her with questions she'd deflected, Zoe watching with suspicious eyes. 3 sharp knocks. Amara took a deep breath and opened the door. Marcus stood awkwardly in the hallway, looking both powerful and vulnerable in his casual weekend clothes, designer jeans and a simple black sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Hi, he said simply. Come in. She stepped aside, hyper-aware of the twins watching from inside. Marcus entered, taking in the apartment with a carefully neutral expression. Thank you for seeing me. I brought breakfast. He held up the bakery bag like a peace offering. We already ate, Zoe said flatly from the table. Zoe, Amara admonished gently. I did, she insisted, though her eyes lingered on the bag from the fancy bakery they passed but never entered. I haven't, Zach admitted, approaching cautiously. Thanks, Mr. Reynolds. An uncomfortable silence fell as Marcus set the pastries on the kitchen counter. He seemed to be struggling for words, taking in the evidence of the life that had continued without him. School photos on the refrigerator, a growth chart marked on the wall, a collection of well-worn chess books. Please sit down, Amara finally said, gesturing to the living room area. Kids, come join us. They arranged themselves awkwardly, Amara and the twins on the sofa, Marcus in the armchair across from them. The coffee table between them might as well have been an ocean. I'm not sure how to begin, Amara admitted after another stretch of silence. Begin with the truth, Marcus said quietly. They deserve that much. Zach looked between them, eyes wide with dawning understanding. Did you two know each other in college? Amara nodded. Yes, we met in a theory of games class at Columbia. Columbia? Zach's eyebrows shot up. You went to Columbia? The surprise in his voice made Amara wince internally. How little her children knew about her life before them. Your mother was brilliant, Marcus said. Full scholarship, double major in literature and mathematics. You never told us that, Zoe said, looking at her mother with confusion. There's a lot I haven't told you. Amara took a deep breath. Marcus and I were together for almost 2 years in college. Together like dating? Zach clarified. Yes. Amara's hands twisted in her lap. We were very much in love. Marcus's expression softened at her words, a flash of the past crossing his features. "What happened?" Zoe asked, her voice uncharacteristically small. "We came from different worlds," Marcus answered. "My family disapproved. I wasn't strong enough to stand up to them." "You broke Mom's heart," Zoe concluded, her protective instincts flaring. Marcus didn't flinch from her accusation. "Yes, I made the worst mistake of my life." "That's not the whole story," Amara interjected gently. She turned to her children, taking both their hands in hers. "After we separated, I discovered I was pregnant. With you." The words landed like stones in still water, ripples of realization spreading across the twins' faces. Zach spoke first, his analytical mind making the connection instantly. "He's our father." It wasn't a question, but Amara nodded anyway. "Yes." Zoe pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. "No, that's not possible." "It's true, Zoe," Amara said softly. "You're our father?" Zach stared at Marcus with new eyes, seeing his own features reflected back at him. "All this time? Did you know? At the chess club?" "No," Marcus and Amara said simultaneously. "I had no idea," Marcus continued, leaning forward, eyes pleading for understanding. "Your mother never told me." "Why?" Zach turned to Amara, hurt and confusion evident in his expression. Amara felt the weight of 10 years of decisions pressing down on her, because he had chosen his family's approval over our relationship. "I didn't want you growing up feeling like you were unwanted or rejected." "So you lied," Zoe accused, arms crossed tightly across her chest. "I protected you," Amara corrected gently. "Did you ever try to find us?" Zach asked Marcus. Marcus's expression darkened with shame. "I didn't know you existed until I saw Zach use that chess move, the one I created and taught only to your mother." "So you would never have known if we hadn't played chess with you?" Zoe's voice was razor sharp. "We'd still be nobody to you?" "Zoe," Amara began. "No, she's right to ask," Marcus interrupted. "The truth is, I don't know. I'd like to think our paths would have crossed eventually, but—" He spread his hands in a helpless gesture. "I can't change the past. All I can do is be here now." "We don't need you now," Zoe declared, though her voice wavered slightly. "We've been fine without you for 10 years. "That's not your decision alone, Zoe," Zach said quietly, surprising everyone. He turned to Marcus with a directness that mirrored his mother's. "Why are you here now? What do you want?" Marcus met his son's gaze steadily. "To know you, both of you, to be part of your lives if you'll let me." "And if we don't want that?" Zoe challenged. "Then I'll respect your wishes," Marcus said, though pain flashed across his features. "But I hope you'll give me a chance to earn a place in your lives." Silence fell again, heavy with unspoken emotions. Zach fidgeted with his glasses, his mind visibly racing with this new information. Zoe remained standing, physically distancing herself from the conversation. "How did you two meet?" Zach finally asked, surprising everyone with the change of subject. A ghost of a smile crossed Amara's lips. "He cheated at chess." "I did not," Marcus protested, a flash of their old dynamic breaking through the tension. "I employed an unconventional strategy." "He sacrificed his queen in a completely illogical move," Amara explained, "then managed a checkmate in 7 moves. The Johnson-Reynolds gambit," Zach whispered, eyes widening. "That's where it comes from." Marcus nodded, a tentative smile forming. "Your mother insisted her name should go first because of alphabetical order." "And because I refined it," Amara added softly. For a brief moment, the years between them seemed to dissolve, a shared memory bridging the chasm. "Did you love her?" Zoe suddenly demanded of Marcus, her voice breaking the spell. "Really love her?" Marcus met her challenging gaze without hesitation. "More than anything. I still—" He stopped himself, glancing at Amara. Then why did you leave? Zoe pressed. Because I was a coward, he admitted simply. My parents threatened to disown me, cut me off from the family business, from everything I'd been raised to value. I thought I could live without your mother. His voice dropped. I was wrong. Zach moved closer to Marcus, studying his face with uncanny intensity. You have my eyes, or I have yours. And my terrible posture, Marcus added gently. Your mother always complained about it. Still do, Amara murmured, watching the tentative connection forming between father and son. Zoe remained apart, observing with guarded eyes. What happens now? It was the question hanging over all of them, the next move in this unexpected game. That's something we all need to figure out together, Amara said, reaching out to her daughter. But nothing happens that you're not comfortable with, I promise. I won't rush anything, Marcus added. I've missed 10 years. I can be patient. Zach looked up at him with curious eyes. Do you have a chess set at your house? Several, Marcus answered, hope flickering across his features. Maybe, Zach glanced at his mother for permission. Maybe we could play sometime? I'd like that very much, Marcus said softly. From across the room, Zoe watched the exchange with mixed emotions. When Marcus looked her way, she didn't smile, but she didn't turn away either. It was a small concession, like a pawn moving forward just one space. But in the complex game unfolding between them, it felt like progress. 11 years ago, Columbia University. That's cheating, Amara laughed, reaching across the library table to swat Marcus's hand as he moved his knight. It's strategy, he countered, grinning. Not my fault you can't see 5 moves ahead. Oh, I see exactly what you're doing. She leaned forward, lowering her voice conspiratorially. You're sacrificing your knight to distract me from your queen's advance. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Am I that transparent? Like glass. Amara captured his knight with a triumphant smile. You Reynolds men think you're so clever. And you Johnson women are terrifyingly perceptive. His eyes lingered on her face, admiration plain in his expression. Want to get out of here? The cherry trees are blooming in the quad. Amara glanced at her stack of books. I have a literature midterm tomorrow. 20 minutes. Fresh air helps memory retention. It's science. Is it now, Mr. Business School? She rolled her eyes but began packing up. 20 minutes. Then I'm serious about studying. Outside, spring sunshine bathed the campus in golden light. They found a bench beneath pink blossoms, shoulders touching. I got that internship, Marcus said suddenly. The one at Goldman. Marcus, that's amazing! Amara turned to him, beaming. Why didn't you tell me right away? He shrugged, uncharacteristically hesitant. My father pulled strings to get me the interview. So? You still had to impress them. Sometimes I wonder if anything I achieve is actually mine. His voice grew quiet. Or if it's just the Reynolds name opening doors. Amara took his hand. The name might open doors, but you're the one walking through them. That's all you. He gazed at her, wonder in his eyes. How do you always know exactly what to say? Terrifying perception, remember? She smiled, then grew serious. Have you told your parents about us yet? The light in his eyes dimmed slightly. Not yet. The timing hasn't been right. It's been 8 months, Marcus. I know, it's just complicated. Because I'm not from your world? No. He squeezed her hand fiercely. Because they have expectations about everything in my life, including who I love. But they'll come around once they meet you. How could they not? Amara leaned her head against his shoulder. You're optimistic. About us? Always. He kissed the top of her head. It's us against the world, Amara. Nothing can change that. Present day. Marcus sat in his study, the same chessboard from his college days open before him. The pieces remained in the exact position from his last game with Amara 11 years ago, a game they'd never finished. The meeting at Amara's apartment 2 days ago had been both painful and hopeful. Zach had cautiously warmed to him, asking questions about chess and his business. Zoe remained wary, protective of her mother, but had agreed to another meeting. It was more than he deserved. His phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa, downstairs. "Doorman letting me up." Marcus sighed, closing the chessboard just as his penthouse elevator chimed. Vanessa Pierce entered, elegant as always in designer jeans and a cashmere sweater, her expression concerned. "You've been avoiding me," she said without preamble. "I've been busy." He kissed her cheek, the gesture suddenly feeling performative. "Too busy to return calls for 3 days?" She studied his face. "What's going on, Marcus? You canceled dinner with my parents. You've been distracted at work. James says you missed the Shanghai call yesterday." Marcus poured himself a scotch, not offering her one. "It's complicated. Try me." She sat on the sofa, crossing her legs. "Is it another woman?" The irony of her question nearly made him laugh. In a manner of speaking, Vanessa's perfectly composed expression faltered. "What does that mean?" Marcus sat across from her, turning the crystal tumbler in his hands. "I found out I have children, twins, a boy and a girl. They're 10. Vanessa stared at him, momentarily speechless. "That's impossible. You would have told me." "I didn't know myself until a week ago." He took a sip of scotch. "Their mother never told me." "Who is she?" Vanessa's voice had gone very quiet. "Someone from college. We were serious once." "How serious?" Marcus met her gaze directly. "I was going to propose." 10 years ago, Greenwich, Connecticut. "She's pregnant?" Eleanor Reynolds's voice cut through the ornate dining room like ice. "And you believe this is your responsibility?" Marcus stood rigid before his parents, the small velvet box heavy in his pocket. "It's not a responsibility, Mother. It's my child. Our child. I love her." William Reynolds set down his fork with deliberate calm. "Marcus, be reasonable. You're 24. You're just starting at the firm. This situation can be handled discreetly." "Handled?" Marcus stared at his father in disbelief. "You mean paid off? Hidden away? This is the woman I want to marry." "The cleaning woman's daughter?" Eleanor's perfectly manicured hand trembled slightly as she reached for her wine. "A girl from the Bronx with no connections? No background?" "She's brilliant. Full scholarship to Columbia. Double major." "This isn't about her academic achievements," Eleanor interrupted. "It's about suitability. The Reynolds name means something. Our position in society." "I don't care about our position." Marcus's voice rose, surprising even himself. William's expression hardened. "Clearly, but you should care about your future, the future of this family's legacy. If you pursue this alliance," Eleanor said carefully, "you will do so without our support, financial or otherwise." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "You're threatening to disown me? Your only son?" "We're protecting you from a disastrous mistake," William corrected. "Think, Marcus. Really think about what you're throwing away. For what? A college romance?" "For love," Marcus said, his voice suddenly sounding small in the vast dining room. Eleanor's expression softened slightly. "Love fades, darling. Legacy endures." Present day. "So you chose your inheritance over her," Vanessa summarized, her voice carefully neutral. "I chose wrong." Marcus set down his empty glass. "I've regretted it every day since." "And now you want to make amends?" "It wasn't a question. I want to know my children, be part of their lives." "And their mother?" Vanessa asked perceptively. "What do you want with her?" Before Marcus could answer, his phone rang. Eleanor Reynolds's name flashed on the screen. "I should take this," he said, rising. "Of course." Vanessa gathered her purse. "We'll continue this conversation later." Marcus answered as the elevator doors closed behind her. "Mother, is it true?" Eleanor's voice was tightly controlled. Judith Pierpont says you were seen at Windsor Academy with two children who look remarkably like you. Children who don't attend the school. Marcus closed his eyes. The Greenwich Gossip Network, efficient as ever. Yes, Mother. I have children. Twins. They're 10. A sharp intake of breath. That girl from college. I knew she was trouble. Her name is Amara, Mother. And she's the mother of your grandchildren. Silence stretched between them, decades of expectations and disappointments hanging in the balance. You will bring them to dinner on Sunday, Eleanor finally said. Your father and I wish to meet them. It wasn't a request. That's not my decision alone, Marcus replied carefully. Amara has full custody. Then persuade her. 6 o'clock. Don't be late. Eleanor paused. And Marcus? Come alone first. We should discuss how to handle this situation. The call ended, leaving Marcus staring at his phone. Some things never changed. Did he talk about us? Before? Zach asked, helping Amara fold laundry on the kitchen table. When you were together? Amara smiled sadly, smoothing one of his t-shirts. We were young. We didn't talk about children. But you loved him? Yes. She paused, honesty compelling her forward. Very much. Then why did you keep us a secret from him? Zach's expression was troubled, not accusing. Amara sat down, choosing her words carefully. When someone shows you they'll choose comfort over love once, it's hard to believe they won't do it again. People can change, Zach offered. They can, she agreed. But back then, I needed certainty, not possibility. I had 2 tiny babies depending on me. From the doorway, Zoe spoke up unexpectedly. Would you have married him if he hadn't left? Amara looked up, surprised by the question. Yes. Do you still love him? Zoe pressed. Amara's hands stilled on the folded clothes. Love doesn't just disappear, Zoe, but sometimes it's not enough. He still loves you, Zach said with a child's certainty. I can tell. Amara smiled wistfully. Chess players, always thinking they can see moves ahead. Mom? Zoe approached the table, her expression unusually vulnerable. Will you tell us how you met? The real story? Amara looked at her children, her and Marcus's children, and nodded. It started with a chess game. I was beating him and he couldn't stand it. Full scholarships, both of them. Marcus spread the Windsor Academy brochures across Amara's kitchen table. They'd start immediately, private tutoring to catch them up on any gaps. The chess program, of course, but also advanced mathematics for Zach, creative writing for Zoe. Stop. Amara held up her hand, eyes fixed on the glossy photos of manicured lawns and brick buildings. Just stop. Marcus paused, watching her carefully. What's wrong? This, she gestured at the brochures. All of this. You've known them for 1 week, Marcus. 1 week after 10 years of absence, and you're already trying to remake their lives. I'm trying to give them opportunities. They have opportunities. Not like these. He tapped the brochure. Windsor is one of the best prep schools in the country. Graduates go to Harvard, Yale. I know what Windsor is, Amara interrupted. I also know my children are doing just fine at their current school. With all due respect to PS 118, Marcus said carefully. They deserve more. Zach's math skills are already at high school level. Zoe's writing, don't tell me about my children's abilities. Amara's voice was quiet, but firm. I've nurtured those abilities for 10 years while working 3 jobs, without Windsor Academy, without your money. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, visibly frustrated. This isn't about undermining what you've done. It's about what I can do now, for them. From the hallway, Zach's voice interrupted. I want to go. Both adults turned to see the twins standing in the doorway. Zach stepped forward, glasses slipping down his nose as he picked up a brochure. They have a robotics lab, he said, eyes wide, and an observatory. Zach, we haven't decided anything, Amara began. Why not? He asked, looking up at her with genuine confusion. It's a better school. It's complicated, honey. Because it's his money? Zach glanced at Marcus. But he's our father. Isn't that what fathers do? Help with stuff like school? The simple logic of a 10-year-old cut through the tension. Marcus seemed to hold his breath, waiting for Amara's response. It's not that simple, she said finally. It could be, Marcus suggested quietly. Zoe, who had remained silent, finally spoke. It's a rich kids' school. We'd never fit in. You'd be surprised, Marcus said, turning to her. There are scholarship students from all backgrounds. Token diversity? Zoe challenged, the sophisticated concept startling from a 10-year-old's mouth. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Actually, yes, to some extent. But the education is still excellent. Amara gave him a grudging look of respect for his honesty. I want to stay with Mom, Zoe declared, crossing her arms. You'd still live here, Marcus clarified. It's not a boarding school. But we'd be in that world, Zoe persisted. Your world. The divide, the chasm between their lives, hung in the air between them. I'll think about it, Amara said finally. That's all I can promise right now. Marcus nodded, accepting the small victory. That's fair. Can I keep this? Zach asked, holding up the brochure. Of course. Marcus smiled at his son. There's an open house next week if you'd like to see it. Mom? Zach looked to Amara with pleading eyes. We'll see, she said, though her expression had softened. As Marcus prepared to leave, Zoe approached him, her small face serious. My mom's smart. Really smart. She could have gone to fancy schools too. I know, Marcus said gently. She was the brightest person in our class at Columbia. Then why is she cleaning your office? The question, delivered with a child's brutal directness, left Marcus speechless. That's a conversation for another time, Amara interjected, placing a hand on Zoe's shoulder. Marcus met Amara's eyes over their daughter's head. It's a fair question, one I've been asking myself every day since I saw you again. The Reynolds mansion in Greenwich loomed like a fortress against the twilight sky. Marcus sat stiffly at the formal dining table facing his parents across a wasteland of fine china and crystal. Twins. William Reynolds swirled his scotch, ice clinking against the glass. How convenient. Convenient? Marcus's jaw tightened. For the mother, Eleanor clarified, her voice smooth as silk. Double the potential support. Amara has never asked for a penny, Marcus countered. She's raised them entirely on her own. Yes, as a cleaning woman. Eleanor's mouth curved in distaste. In your own building, no less. Rather theatrical, don't you think? She had no idea I owned the building when she took the job. William set down his glass. What does she want now? Nothing. It's what I want, to be involved in my children's lives. And how do you propose to do that? Eleanor asked. Joint custody? Public acknowledgement? Have you considered the implications? Marcus met his mother's gaze steadily. They're my children. I won't hide them. The timing is concerning, William observed coldly, just as you're being considered for the Industry Leadership Award, as Reynolds Tech prepares to go public. You think this is a shakedown? Marcus laughed incredulously. She kept them secret for 10 years. She didn't want me to know. Then why reveal it now? Eleanor pressed. She didn't. I discovered it by chance. Marcus shook his head. This isn't a conspiracy, Mother. It's my family. We're your family. William's voice hardened. These children, if they are indeed yours, they are. Marcus cut him off. One look at them and there's no question. DNA tests exist for a reason, Eleanor suggested delicately. Marcus stood abruptly. I'm not subjecting my children to DNA tests to satisfy your paranoia. Sit down, William commanded. We're not finished. For the first time in his life, Marcus remained standing in defiance. I've enrolled them at Windsor. I'm setting up trust funds. I'm going to be their father, with or without your approval. If you proceed with this, Integration, William said coldly. You do so without our support, the family trusts, your position at Reynolds Holdings. You're threatening to disown me? Again? Marcus's laugh was bitter. That worked so well last time. Last time you made the right choice, Eleanor reminded him. No. Marcus's voice dropped. Last time I made the worst mistake of my life. I won't repeat it. Eleanor's composure cracked slightly. Marcus, be reasonable. We can arrange financial support, education, discreetly. But public acknowledgement, making them Reynolds heirs, it's too much. Too much for whom? Marcus challenged. Your social standing? The family reputation? Our legacy, William insisted. Everything we've built. They are our legacy. Marcus moved toward the door. My legacy, and I'll be damned if I deny them again. You can't just upend their lives because you feel guilty. Amara's voice rose as she paced her small living room. The twins were at chess club, giving them rare privacy to argue. This isn't about guilt, Marcus insisted. It's about opportunity. It's about control, Amara countered. You think you can swoop in with your money and your fancy schools and buy your way into their lives. That's not fair, isn't it? She stopped pacing to face him. You're trying to purchase in an instant what I've built over a decade. Their trust, their love, their future. I'm their father. Biology doesn't make you a parent, Marcus. Showing up does. Day after day, year after year. Marcus flinched at the truth in her words. I want to show up now. Every day from now on. Until when? Amara challenged. Until your parents threaten your inheritance again? Until it becomes inconvenient? Until some suitable socialite doesn't want ready-made children? Vanessa and I broke up, he said quietly. Amara faltered momentarily. I'm sorry, but that doesn't change my point. Marcus moved closer. You're right to doubt me. I haven't earned your trust, but I'm asking for the chance to earn it, to earn their trust too. By buying them expensive educations? By giving them every advantage I can, he corrected, just like you've done with far fewer resources. Amara turned away, conflict evident in her expression. Zach really wants to go. And Zoe really doesn't, Marcus acknowledged. She's loyal to you. She's protecting me, Amara corrected softly. She always has. She shouldn't have to. Marcus's voice gentled. Neither should you. Let me help, Amara. Not to take over, but to support what you've already built. Amara turned back to him, eyes flashing. I won't have them caught between worlds, Marcus. Feeling like they don't belong anywhere. Too privileged for one world, not polished enough for yours. Then we build a new world, he said simply. Together. The simplicity of his solution hung between them, both impossible and inevitable. Windsor Academy gleamed in the morning sunlight, its brick buildings and ivy-covered walls the very picture of privilege and opportunity. Amara stood beside Marcus on the manicured lawn, watching Zach dart excitedly from one tour stop to another while Zoe hung back, her expression guarded. The science facilities are extraordinary, the admissions director was saying. And of course our chess program is unparalleled. It's like Hogwarts, Zach whispered to his mother, eyes wide behind his glasses. Amara squeezed his shoulder, her chest tight with conflicting emotions. She'd never seen him so animated, so hungry for what this place offered. Beside her, Marcus radiated quiet pride as the director mentioned the school's prestigious alumni. Mr. Reynolds has been one of our most generous benefactors, the woman added with a practiced smile. Any children of his would be most welcome additions to our community. Zoe stepped closer to her mother, slipping her small hand into Amara's. Can we go soon? She whispered. Just a little longer, honey, Amara murmured, though she understood her daughter's discomfort. This world, Marcus's world, was as foreign to them as another country. As the tour concluded in the headmaster's office, the adults spoke in careful tones about enrollment procedures and scholarship details while the twins waited outside. Both children show exceptional promise, the headmaster said, reviewing their transcripts. Zachary's aptitude for mathematics is particularly noteworthy. And Zoe? Amara asked, noticing the omission. The headmaster adjusted his glasses. She's certainly bright, but her academic record shows some inconsistencies. Her language arts scores are exemplary, but she seems to struggle with authority at times. She's independent, Amara said, a defensive edge creeping into her voice, and perceptive. Of course, he backpedaled smoothly. We value independent thinking, with proper guidance. My daughter doesn't need proper guidance, Amara interrupted. She needs teachers who recognize her intelligence, not just her compliance. An awkward silence fell. Marcus cleared his throat. Both of my children would be assets to Windsor, he said firmly. We'd expect them to be treated with equal opportunity and respect. The headmaster nodded quickly. Absolutely, Mr. Reynolds. That goes without saying. Outside the office, Zach pressed his ear against the door, while Zoe stood with arms crossed. They're talking about us, he whispered. Of course they are, Zoe rolled her eyes. That's what adults do. Don't you think this place is amazing? Zach gestured at the ornate hallway. They have a real telescope, and chessboards with electronic timers. It's fancy, Zoe conceded. But everyone looks the same here, like little robots in uniforms. We'd have uniforms too. Exactly my point. She tugged at her bright yellow shirt, one of her favorites. I like my clothes. I like our school. I like our life. But it could be better, Zach insisted. Zoe's expression darkened. You mean richer? I mean more opportunities, Zach countered with unusual firmness. Mom always says education is the one thing nobody can take away from you. She didn't go to a place like this. But she went to Columbia, Zach reminded her. She had opportunities. And look what happened, Zoe said quietly. She fell in love with him and ended up cleaning his office building. Zach had no answer for that. You're being ridiculous, Rachel said, pouring more wine into Amara's glass. Her apartment was only marginally larger than Amara's, but as a third-grade teacher with evenings free, she'd had time to make it homey. This is exactly what you've worked for. Amara sank deeper into Rachel's sofa. I worked to give them stability, safety, not to have them whisked into Marcus's world. His world includes resources you can't provide, Rachel pointed out, much as that sucks to hear. I know, Amara sighed. You should have seen Zach's face when he saw their science lab, like all his birthdays came at once. And Zoe? Hated every minute. Rachel smiled knowingly. Because she's protecting you. She's 10. It's not her job to protect me. Tell that to her. Rachel took a sip of wine. Look, I've taught enough kids to know when one is carrying adult burdens. Zoe's been the co-parent in your house for years. That's not fair, Amara protested weakly. It's not a criticism. You've done an amazing job as a single mother. But Zoe feels responsible for your happiness. She thinks if they embrace Marcus, or his world, they're betraying you. The truth of Rachel's words stung. Amara stared into her wine glass, seeing her own reflection fragmented by the dark liquid. What if they love his world more than mine? She finally voiced her deepest fear. What if I lose them to private schools and summer homes and everything I couldn't give them? Rachel's expression softened. Honey, you can't lose them. You're their mother. But your job isn't to keep them in your world. It's to prepare them for any world they might want to enter. Even one that rejected me? Especially that one, Rachel said gently, because you're strong enough to give them what you were denied. The chess set between them was an antique, carved ivory pieces on a marble board. Marcus had brought it to Amara's apartment as a gift for the twins, but they were asleep now, the adults left alone with cooling tea and unspoken words. They've been offered full scholarships, Marcus said, moving a pawn forward. Both of them. No strings attached. Amara countered with her knight. There are always strings. Not from me. His bishop advanced. Windsor was impressed with them on their own merits. Zach wants to go. She moved her queen cautiously. Zoe doesn't. I know. Marcus studied the board. We could let them make different choices. And separate them? Amara shook her head. They've never been apart. Sometimes different paths are necessary, Marcus said quietly, for growth. Their eyes met across the board, both knowing they weren't just talking about the twins. I'm afraid, Amara admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Of what? That they'll become strangers to me, that they'll grow to prefer your world, that they'll look at me, at my life, and feel shame. Never. Marcus reached across the board, his hand covering hers. They adore you. Anyone can see that. Children change, especially when exposed to wealth and privilege. Not their core. His thumb traced small circles on the back of her hand. Not when they have a mother like you grounding them. The simple touch sent warmth spreading up Amara's arm. How long had it been since someone had touched her with such tenderness? The sensation was both familiar and new, like revisiting a beloved book after many years. What happened to us, Marcus? She asked suddenly. The real version, not the one I tell myself to stay angry. His eyes darkened with regret. I chose wrong. I was young and afraid and weak. I let my parents dictate my life because it was easier than fighting. And now? Now I know what matters. His gaze held hers. Too late, perhaps, but I know. The air between them seemed to thicken, years of hurt and longing crystallizing into this quiet moment. Marcus leaned forward slightly, his intent clear in his eyes. Amara pulled her hand away, the spell broken. The children are what matters now, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Marcus nodded, accepting her boundary. Always. She touched her queen piece, then deliberately moved it into a vulnerable position, a sacrifice that would open the board for a more advantageous play. They can attend Windsor, she said quietly. Both of them, on a trial basis. Marcus understood the significance of both her chess move and her words. Thank you. I'm not doing it for you, she clarified. I'm doing it for them, for the opportunities I couldn't provide alone. I know. He captured her queen with gentle fingers. Some sacrifices are strategic, not surrenders. Amara looked up from the board, meeting his gaze. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Don't make me regret trusting you. Not again. The weight of her words hung between them, a challenge and a chance for redemption. I won't, he promised. We're rewriting the game this time. The New York State Junior Chess Championship hummed with nervous energy. Hundreds of children hunched over boards in the hotel ballroom, parents and coaches watching from designated areas. Zach had advanced to the semi-final round, his concentration absolute as he faced a stern-faced boy from a private school in Manhattan. Amara stood at the edge of the spectator area, pride and anxiety warring within her. 6 weeks at Windsor Academy had transformed the twins in subtle ways. Zach's vocabulary had expanded, his confidence grown. Zoe had reluctantly found her place in the creative writing program, though she still wore colorful socks with her uniform in silent rebellion. He's going to win, Marcus said quietly, appearing beside Amara. Look at his positioning. She nodded, not taking her eyes off her son. The Sicilian defense. He's been practicing it for weeks. With considerable success. Marcus smiled. The Windsor team has never had a first-year student advance this far. Our community center coach deserves most of the credit, Amara reminded him. I know. I've arranged a permanent endowment for their program. Amara glanced at him, surprised. You didn't tell me that. You're not the only one who can make quiet contributions, he said with a small smile. Their tentative co-parenting had evolved into something almost comfortable over the past weeks. Marcus attended parent-teacher conferences, helped with homework on designated evenings, and never missed the twins' chess matches. He'd been careful never to overstep, to consult Amara on all decisions. "Have you told them about Sunday dinner yet?" Marcus asked, his expression growing serious. "Not yet," Amara sighed. "I'm still not sure it's a good idea. They're asking to meet their grandparents. I can only deflect for so long. I know, it's just—" Amara stopped abruptly, her gaze fixed on the ballroom entrance. Eleanor and William Reynolds had just walked in, elegant and imposing in expensive casual wear. "You invited them?" she hissed. Marcus looked as shocked as she felt. "Absolutely not. I specifically told them to wait until we'd prepared the children." Eleanor spotted them immediately, making a beeline across the room with William following at a more measured pace. Heads turned as they passed. The Reynolds were well known in New York society circles. "Marcus, darling." Eleanor air-kissed her son's cheeks, then turned to Amara with a cool smile. "Ms. Johnson, how interesting to see you again after all these years." "Mrs. Reynolds." Amara's voice was polite but distant. "This is unexpected." "We simply couldn't miss our grandson's tournament," Eleanor said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "William pulled some strings to adjust our schedule." "The children don't know you're coming," Marcus said in a low voice. "We haven't prepared them for this meeting." "Nonsense!" Eleanor waved a dismissive hand. "They're old enough to meet their grandparents without rehearsal." William stepped forward, extending his hand to Amara. "Ms. Johnson, you've raised remarkable children by all accounts." The grudging compliment caught Amara off guard. She shook his hand briefly. "Thank you." "Where's our granddaughter?" Eleanor asked, scanning the crowd. "Zoe's with her team," Amara answered. "She lost in the quarterfinals but stayed to support her brother." "Lost?" Eleanor's eyebrows rose slightly. "How disappointing." "She placed 8th in the state," Marcus countered sharply, "at her first major tournament. Of course, dear, that's commendable." Eleanor's tone suggested anything less than victory was failure, a Reynolds family value Amara remembered all too well. Across the room, Zach made his final move. His opponent's shoulders slumped in defeat. Applause rippled through the spectators. "He won!" Amara's face lit up. "Finals," Marcus said proudly. "Incredible." As Zach made his way toward them, Zoe appeared from the crowd and intercepted him, giving her twin a fierce hug. They approached together, Zach grinning widely, Zoe protective at his side. "Mom, did you see that endgame?" Zach asked excitedly. "I trapped his queen exactly like we practiced." "You were brilliant, baby." Amara hugged him tightly. "Well done, Zach," Marcus added, resting a hand on his son's shoulder. Zach beamed at the praise, then noticed the strangers. His smile faltered as he sensed the tension in the air. "Zachary, Zoe," Marcus said carefully. "These are my parents, your grandparents." Eleanor stepped forward with a practiced smile. "Well, aren't you both lovely? The Reynolds features are quite evident." Zoe moved imperceptibly closer to her mother. "We have our mom's eyes," she said pointedly. "Indeed." Eleanor's smile tightened. "Among other qualities, I'm sure." "Congratulations on your victory, young man," William addressed Zach. "The finals tomorrow will be challenging." "I'm ready, sir," Zach replied, the formality sounding strange from his young mouth. "Such good manners," Eleanor commented with a meaningful glance at Amara. "Despite circumstances." The implication hung in the air like a thundercloud. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Mother," he warned quietly. "What?" Eleanor's innocence was theatrical. "I'm complimenting Ms. Johnson's parenting." "No, you're not," Zoe said suddenly, her young voice clear and firm. "You're being mean to my mom while pretending to be nice. Adults do that a lot." A shocked silence fell over the group. Eleanor's face flushed. "Young lady, that's no way to speak to—" "Zoe's right," Marcus interrupted, "and I won't have my children subjected to passive-aggressive commentary about their mother." Eleanor blinked, clearly unused to being challenged. "Marcus, really? I'm merely observing—" You're merely continuing the same prejudices that separated me from my children for 10 years, Marcus said, his voice low but intense. And I won't allow it anymore. William stepped forward, his expression hardening. This is neither the time nor place for this discussion. Agreed, Marcus said. Children, why don't you go with your mother to get some refreshments? I need a moment with your grandparents. Amara hesitated, but the determined set of Marcus's jaw told her this was a conversation he needed to have alone. She ushered the twins away, though Zoe kept glancing back worriedly. Once they were out of earshot, Marcus turned to his parents. That will never happen again. We were perfectly civil, Eleanor protested. Civil? Marcus laughed harshly. You insulted their mother to her face in front of them. We're merely concerned about appearances, William said stiffly. This sudden family you've sprung on society, the questions it raises. I don't care about appearances or society's questions, Marcus said firmly. Those children and their mother are my family, my priority. You have responsibilities to the Reynolds name, William reminded him. My responsibility is to my children, Marcus countered. If you can't accept them, and Amara, with genuine respect and love, then you won't be part of their lives. Or mine. Eleanor paled. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more, Marcus said quietly. I made the wrong choice once. I won't make it again. Across the room, Amara stood in line at the refreshment table, the twins distracted by cookies. She nearly jumped when Eleanor appeared beside her. May I speak with you privately? The older woman asked. Amara hesitated, then nodded to Zoe that she'd be nearby. She followed Eleanor to a quiet corner. You've turned him against us, Eleanor began without preamble. Marcus makes his own choices, Amara replied evenly. He always has. He was raised with certain expectations, a particular path. A path that made him miserable, Amara observed. Wealthy, but empty. Eleanor's perfect composure cracked slightly. Is he happy now, with this arrangement? The unexpected vulnerability in the question caught Amara off guard. I believe he's finding his way to happiness, she said carefully, through his relationship with his children. And with you? Eleanor pressed. That's complicated. Eleanor studied her with shrewd eyes. You still love him. That's not relevant to our co-parenting, Amara deflected. It's entirely relevant. Eleanor sighed, suddenly looking her age. I only ever wanted what was best for him. No, Amara corrected gently. You wanted what you thought was best for your family name. There's a difference. Before Eleanor could respond, a commotion erupted across the room. William had collapsed into a chair, his face gray, one hand clutching his chest. William! Eleanor cried, rushing toward her husband. The next moments passed in a blur of paramedics and worried voices. Heart attack, they said. Minor, but concerning. As William was wheeled out on a stretcher, oxygen mask on his face, he reached for Marcus's hand. The children, he gasped. Bring them. Sunday. In the chaos, families and priorities suddenly shifted into stark relief. The finals of the New York State Junior Chess Championship had drawn a larger crowd than usual. Word had spread about the prodigy from the Bronx, now representing Windsor Academy, who had methodically defeated opponents from the most prestigious schools in the state. Zach sat across from his final opponent, a serious 14-year-old with national rankings and a reputation for ruthless play. Despite the 4-year age difference, Zach appeared calm, arranging his pieces with the same precise movements he'd inherited from his father. In the spectator area, an unusual family configuration had assembled. Amara stood between Marcus and Zoe, occasionally squeezing her daughter's hand. Behind them, Eleanor sat beside William in a wheelchair, his color better but his brush with mortality still evident in his subdued demeanor. He looked so small at that table, Eleanor murmured, a protective note in her voice that surprised Amara. Don't let his size fool you, Amara replied. Zach has never felt small in his life. The match began, moves flowing back and forth with hypnotic precision. Zach's opponent played aggressively, sacrificing pawns for position, forcing Zach into an increasingly defensive stance. "He's in trouble," Marcus whispered, tension evident in his voice. "The Fisher attack is putting him in a corner." "Watch," Amara said with quiet confidence. "Corners are where Zach does his best thinking." Sure enough, as his position grew more precarious, Zach's concentration deepened. His hands remained steady, his breathing controlled. Then, just as his position seemed hopeless, he made a move that caused Marcus to inhale sharply. "The gambit," he whispered. "Our gambit." Amara nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "He's been saving it." The Johnson-Reynolds gambit unfolded across the board, the Queen's sacrifice creating momentary chaos, followed by the precise sequence of moves that transformed apparent weakness into unstoppable strength. Zach's opponent frowned, then paled as he realized the trap closing around him. 6 moves later, it was over. The audience burst into applause as Zach extended his hand across the board, his expression serious but eyes shining with victory. "That's my boy," William said, his voice gruff with unexpected emotion. Eleanor dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "He plays like you, Marcus. The same strategic patience." "He plays like both of us," Marcus corrected, glancing at Amara. "The precision is mine, but the creativity, the willingness to risk everything on a bold move, that's all Amara." As medals were awarded and photographs taken, the adults watched with various degrees of pride and wonder. Zoe stood beside her brother on the podium, her earlier resentment temporarily overshadowed by fierce pride. "Did you see how confused that other kid looked?" she crowed as they rejoined the adults. "Like his brain broke." "The Johnson-Reynolds gambit claims another victim," Marcus laughed, ruffling Zach's hair. "Johnson-Reynolds," William repeated thoughtfully. "A formidable combination." Amara caught his gaze, sensing something had shifted in the patriarch's perception. His near-death experience seemed to have rearranged his priorities, softening the rigid edges of his prejudice. "We're going to celebrate with ice cream," Marcus announced. "Everyone is invited." "Ice cream before dinner?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "Special occasions call for special rules, grandmother," Zoe said, the title still awkward on her tongue but offered as a tentative olive branch. Eleanor blinked, then smiled, a genuine smile that transformed her austere features. "Indeed they do." As they gathered their belongings, William gestured for Amara to come closer to his wheelchair. "Ms. Johnson," he said quietly, "I've not been fair to you." "No," she agreed calmly. "You haven't. I was wrong." The admission seemed physically painful for him. About many things. Amara studied the once intimidating man, now diminished by age and illness. "It's not me you need to make amends with, Mr. Reynolds. It's your son and your grandchildren." William nodded slowly. "I'm beginning to understand that." Central Park in early evening painted a perfect backdrop for their celebration. The twins raced ahead to the playground while the adults found benches nearby. Eleanor and William had declined the ice cream expedition, citing medical restrictions, but the shift in family dynamics was unmistakable. "They've invited us to Greenwich next weekend," Marcus said as he and Amara sat watching the children. "All of us." "Progress," Amara acknowledged. "Shocking progress." He smiled slightly. "Nothing like a cardiac event to rearrange one's perspective on what matters." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Zoe push her brother on the swing, their laughter carrying across the playground. "Thank you," Marcus said suddenly. "For what?" "For raising them to be who they are, for being stronger than I was, for allowing me into their lives despite every reason not to." Amara turned to study his profile, the face she'd once known better than her own, now matured by a decade of living and marked with new lines of experience. "They needed their father," she said simply. "And what about you?" he asked, turning to meet her gaze. "What do you need, Amara?" The directness of his question caught her off guard. For 10 years, she'd suppressed her own needs, focused entirely on her children's welfare. The concept of personal desire felt almost foreign. "I don't know anymore," she admitted. "I've been in survival mode for so long. You don't have to be anymore." His voice was gentle. "The cleaning job, the bookkeeping, you could let those go. Focus on your writing again." "And depend on your financial support?" She shook her head. "That would make me feel like a kept woman," he suggested. "Like I'd surrendered my independence," she corrected. "The one thing that sustained me." What if it wasn't surrender but partnership? Marcus's gaze was steady. What if we found a way forward that respected what we've both become over these 10 years? Co-parenting, you mean? I mean more than that. He hesitated, then continued carefully. "I've never stopped loving you, Amara. Not for a single day. But I don't expect you to feel the same. Too much has happened." Amara looked away, watching her children, their children, playing in the fading light. "I taught myself not to love you," she said quietly, "as a matter of survival. But lately—" "Lately?" he prompted when she didn't continue. "Lately I'm remembering why it was so hard to stop." She met his eyes again. "But we can't just pick up where we left off, Marcus. We're different people now." "I know." He nodded. "I'm not asking for that. I'm asking if we could start something new, slowly, on equal footing this time." "The same social barriers still exist," she reminded him. "Your world, my world, they're still miles apart." "Then we create our own world," he said simply, "one move at a time." From the playground, Zach called out, "Mom, Dad, come push us." The simple domestic title, Dad, still new on their son's lips, hung in the air between them. Marcus's eyes glistened briefly. "Duty calls," Amara said with a small smile, rising from the bench. Marcus caught her hand as she stood. "I'm not asking for an answer now. Just think about it." Her fingers curled around his briefly. "I will." At the playground, they took turns pushing the twins on the swings, their laughter blending in the twilight air. Afterward, the four of them walked to a nearby chess table, where Zach eagerly set up the pieces for a family match. "Teams," he declared. "Me and Mom against Dad and Zoe." "Traitor," Zoe teased. "You're supposed to be on my side." "Strategic alliance," Zach corrected with a grin. "Mom taught me that sometimes you have to switch sides to win." As they played, the park lights came on around them, casting a gentle glow over the board. Marcus and Amara's hands occasionally brushed as they moved pieces, each touch a quiet acknowledgement of possibilities. "Checkmate," Zach announced triumphantly after a hard-fought game. "Well played," Marcus conceded, studying the board with admiration. "Though I think your mother did most of the strategic work." "Teamwork," Amara corrected. "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." As they packed up the chess pieces, Zoe surprised everyone by asking, "Can we do this again? Like, regularly?" "Family chess night?" Marcus suggested, hope evident in his voice. "Yeah." She shrugged, aiming for nonchalance but not quite achieving it. "It was kind of fun." "I'd like that," Amara said softly. Walking home through the park, the twins ran ahead, their silhouettes merging with the gathering darkness. Marcus and Amara followed more slowly, a careful distance between them, not touching, but moving in the same direction. "What are you thinking?" he asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. Amara looked at their children, then at the man beside her. "That sometimes the most difficult game to win is the one against yourself." "And have you won that one?" he asked quietly. She smiled, the first truly unguarded smile he'd seen since their reunion. "Let's just say I'm considering a new opening strategy." As they reached the park exit, Marcus offered his hand, not presuming, just offering. After a moment's hesitation, Amara took it, their fingers intertwining as naturally as they had a decade ago. The game wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning again, with new rules and higher stakes. But for the first time in 10 years, they were both at the board, seeing not just the next move, but the many possibilities beyond. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.